2, 1. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about some of the myths that I think exist about EVs in general, certainly about EV trucks. Every time I have a conversation with somebody who's not familiar with kind of the EV space, they just have a lot of basic misconceptions. And I've also noticed comments on my videos where like people are just way off on what they think EVs are. And I thought I would address them here. So let's start with a couple of the big ones. The first thing is it wouldn't make like a good daily driver because it's like too much work to do charging and stuff like that. There is some truth to that if you don't have a charger at home. If you have to run around town figuring out charging, that can be kind of challenging. Now, a lot of people do it. If you live in an apartment or some sort of community where there's no charging and you don't have a garage or infrastructure, it can be kind of difficult. But if you've got a garage that you can charge your car in and you've got a high-speed charger that you've installed, which costs on that can vary between like $500 to $1,000 with installs. If you've got that, it makes the perfect daily driver. In fact, I think it's one of the biggest benefits of owning an EV is never having to go to a gas station again and never actually having to go to a fast charging station. In 3 years of owning this car, I think I've done fast charging outside of the house 4 times. 2 of those times have been at Tesla stations, which have been phenomenal. Maybe 2 or 3 more times at random stations while we were on a road trip or something like that, which I don't recommend. Another myth, I think, is something around like the overall value in an EV. So a lot of you might think that people own EVs just so they can save money on gas. That could be true. It certainly isn't the case here in Southern California, because at peak times I pay 62 cents per kilowatt hour to charge this Rivian, and it's a pretty hungry little beast. So it's still cheaper than gas, but not tremendously. And what it's cheaper on gas, it makes up for having a higher cost to insure, and it also is pretty expensive to register because there's some heavy vehicle and EV taxes that get rolled into paying the annual tags for this car. I pay $1,200 a year just for the tags, okay? That's a lot compared to like other trucks. And insurance is just higher on Rivians for whatever reason. So I think it all evens out. It's not cheaper, it's not more expensive. It's just a matter of, do you want to own an EV or not? Another big myth is that it's not for car people. I consider myself a car person. This is my only EV. It's the first EV I've driven or actually owned. I consider myself a car guy. I definitely enjoy driving a lot. There are things about an EV that are not as fulfilling as driving an ICE vehicle, but there are things about an EV that are way more fulfilling than driving an ICE vehicle. So there is a give and take there. For one, there's just that sheer crazy acceleration that throws you back in your seat. That doesn't get old. It's like just the instant available torque. The other is one pedal driving. I'd say it takes about a week to get used to it. If you've experienced it for more than a week, driving any other car just seems like, oh man, I miss one pedal driving. It's really awesome. It's essentially you let go of the accelerator and the car begins to slow down. Handling wise, you know, most of you probably would say that EVs don't handle as well as their gas powered counterparts. That's not exactly true. They have a very low center of gravity for the most part because of that super heavy battery being underneath. This Rivian actually handles better than any truck its size, whether it's gas powered or not. Prior to this, I had a Jeep Gladiator. This is so next level from that. And I've driven the F-150. I've driven a Chevy Silverado. It handles better. It's you know, it's not just faster. I can take corners faster, better in general. One of the big myths, I think, is that we're all tree huggers, right? Like everybody who owns an EV is an environmentalist. I really have no concern about the environment. It isn't why I drive an EV at all. It's not that I don't care about the environment. It's just, it's not one of my concerns. I don't wake up every day thinking, you know, I gotta save the planet. So that's definitely not true for all of us. Now, there are some people that do drive EVs just to save the planet, I think they're a little misguided, to be honest with you. I think the carbon footprint of an EV is just probably the same as any ICE vehicle, maybe a little worse. Now, there's arguments that it is better, but I think it's worse because I think the life of an EV is probably shorter than an ICE vehicle. Okay, another myth is about just kind of the state of the charging infrastructure. It's pretty bad. I'd say most of the brands, like the EVgo's, but the Tesla charging network is phenomenal. And as a Rivian owner, we now have access to the Tesla network, which has completely changed the game around how far I'm willing to drive my EV and whatnot. So, you know, if I wanted to make a road trip somewhere, let's say 200 plus miles, I'd have to plan a lot, which really takes all the fun out of it for me. But now with the Tesla network, it makes it super easy to travel further distances. The thing is, like, the whole idea of like how much range you have on your car, I think like 300 is a pretty good sweet spot. Now you can do with less than that, obviously. And really it's kind of like after like 300 miles, it becomes like, why do I need this additional range? I'm never gonna drive more than 300 miles in one sitting, you know? Now some of you might, and for those of you who do that, the Tesla network is great. But if you're the kind of person that does road trips like all the time, then yeah, maybe an EV is just not the best choice, because even with the Tesla network, it's not that convenient. You do have to pull over, and then you do have to wait there at, you know, 20 minutes or so to get like a pretty decent charge. Which brings me to another myth actually about charging itself. So like what people ask me is like, well, how long does it take to get a full charge? And that's like the dead giveaway to me that they don't know much about EVs, or they haven't thought about the problem. I don't think that ever happens. Ideally, you'll get down to around 20 and then you'll charge to like 70 or 80 maximum. Because if you charge to 80% and you have 300 miles of range, that means you now have 240 miles of range. Kind of the sweet spot in charging for a battery is when it's like around 10 or 20% and you're charging it to like 60 or 70 or 80%. That charge happens quite quickly. So if you're dealing with a real fast charger, like a real fast charger, you can get from like around 20% to around 80% in like 20 to 30 minutes. But then getting from 80% to 100 can take another 20 or 30 minutes. One of the last myths I want to talk about is around towing. I've towed with this truck before. I actually have a video of me towing my motorcycle down, up and down. That's usually what I tow, is my motorcycles. Never towed a boat with it, but they're not meant for that purpose, right? This car has 300 miles of range. If you put like a, 5,000 or 7,000 pound trailer behind it, you're probably cutting that range in half. But then while you're towing, charging becomes kind of complex, because you don't want to have to like pull into a charging station and then have to back that up with a trailer. So again, if you're going to be towing, then you may need a second vehicle, or maybe EVs are just not for you. But it's not impossible to tow, and I tow with it quite often. My trailer is only 500 pounds, barely affects my range. In fact, it can be a very capable towing vehicle, because you barely even feel it. It has tons of power. I can still get, all the acceleration and all that without even really feeling there's anything behind me. And there's actually quite a bit of assists inside the Rivian software for towing, which I think is nice. They come with some benefits when it comes to towing, but for the most part, I think they don't make the best towing vehicles. The last myth is really around price. Now, Rivians used to be pretty expensive, and they got even more expensive. I happen to be part of like 2018 pricing, essentially, and then the prices increased and whatnot. There is tax credits. The whole thing is very diluted, and now with the big beautiful bill, passing, it's probably more expensive to own an EV, to be honest with you. Unless you maybe own like a Model 3 or a Model Y and you got one of those great deals that Tesla has been offering. It comes down to your specific situation, how many miles you drive, what you're into, and all of those things really play into it. But with the incentives going away, I think they're going to probably become more costly. Anyway, give me your thoughts. What did I miss? What are some EV myths that you guys know of, or some things you feel like I'm way off base on? I'd like to hear about it. We're actually on our way to look at my air-cooled 911. This is a project I'm doing with Valley Motorsport out in Corona. It's a Porsche 964 that we're basically just doing a full rebuild on, and some upgrades. So stay tuned for that. And might have some other Rivian videos coming up as well. Give me some ideas of what you'd like to see. See you on the next video, guys. Thank you for tuning in.